Our next track, Adapting for Disabilities, begins with Dr. Luis Perez, Technical Assistance Specialist, CAST. Dr. Perez's presentation is titled An Adjustable Seat, Technologies to Support Flexible and Accessible Remote Learning and Work.
What does a bicycle have to do with learning and accessibility? Stay tuned to find out. Hi, I'm Luis Perez, and I'm a Technical Assistance Specialist for the National Center on Accessible Educational Materials at CAST, or the AIM Center for short. The mission of the AIM Center is to increase both the availability and the use of high-quality, accessible educational materials that support improved learning opportunities for all individuals with disabilities, whether it's in education or in the workforce. Let's start by defining our terms to make sure that we're all on the same page. So what do we mean when we say something is accessible? It means that not only is the material or technology available to learners, but they actually can make use of it to support their learning as independently as possible. And as a person with a disability myself, I've seen the power of technology to have a significant impact on people's lives. And I also want to mention that it's important to address both sides of the accessibility coin. We want to make sure that we're creating and curating accessible educational materials that follow accessibility best practices, but we also want to make sure that we provide learners with the tools that they need to be able to make effective use of those materials. And fortunately, there's a lot of access technology that is now built into the devices that a lot of our learners already may have available in the home. And so the challenge is just to raise awareness of those tools and empower learners to use them to their best advantage. And in this lightning talk, what I want to do is share with you some of the tools that I use to empower myself as a learner and to have access to the learning and work environment. Okay, so let's go back to this idea of a bicycle, what it has to do with learning and accessibility. Whenever you go to the store to purchase a bicycle, you don't look for a bicycle for tall people. You don't look for a bicycle for short people. You just look for a bicycle that has an adjustable seat. And with that adjustable seat, we're able to put people in the optimal position for riding so that they get the most of their physical abilities. And this may seem like a really simple idea, but it's something that actually came about in the 50s from a researcher named Gilbert Daniels. He's a military researcher. And he came up with this idea to improve the performance of fighter pilots. And then this idea took hold and it became part of the mainstream. So originally it started with the cockpits in our planes. And we wanted to make sure that there was an adjustable seat, that there were adjustable controls. And then this made it possible for a wide range of different pilots to be able to become fighter pilots and be able to use those planes. And then that idea came into existence in our cars and, of course, in our bicycle. So think about that idea of adjustable supports that accommodate a wide range of variability in our learners. And let's think about the experience of learning how to ride a bicycle as well. Because when we first start out, if you think back to when you were a little kid, there were lots of falls. There were some scrapes. This is what we call productive struggle. And you started out with a lot of support. You started out with either a parent or a sibling. You had training wheels. But then over time, those supports were able to fade away to the point where you could ride by yourself and you mastered the art of riding a bicycle. And at that point, you could ride different types of bicycles, not just the one that you started out with. And so that's essentially what we want to do for learners is we want to start out with some of these supports. And then over time, we want to kind of turn the keys over to them. We want to empower them so that they can be independent. They can drive their own learning. And the way that we do that is by providing this adjustable seat where they can find the optimal position for learning. And so what I want to do now is take a look at a couple of examples of how I create this adjustable seat for learning for myself by using accessible formats that then support a number of adjustments that create the optimal position for me to learn on my devices. Here's an example where I've accessed a textbook in a format known as EPUB. And if you don't know what EPUB is, you can learn a lot more about it on the AIM Center website. Just look for EPUB in our search feature, and it should take you to a Getting Started with EPUB page. So the benefits of EPUB is that it is a reflowable format. And for someone like me, this makes it much easier for me to read on a mobile device. With other formats, I may have to enlarge the content and then pan around. And all of the panning really tires out my eyes. With EPUB, I can adjust the text size, and then the content reflows to fit the viewport. So I don't have to pan around. So let me show you some of the options that I use when I access an EPUB book on a mobile device. Here I'm using one of my tablets. With this book, I can adjust the text size. I can go in and choose different fonts, or I can adjust the background color so that now I have more contrast, and this makes it easier for me to see the content. Some of these same supports are built into the Edge web browser, which is available for Windows, it's available for the Mac, and it's called the reading view in the Edge web browser. So here I can go in and again, adjust the text size. I can adjust the spacing. I can choose different fonts for readability. And then I can choose different background colors, again, just to make the content easier to see with more contrast. And then I can also turn on the text-to-speech, and it allows me to follow along with some highlighting. So that makes it easier for me to track what is being read out loud. And I can go back and forth between the cleaned up version that's presented in the reading view, and it's much more personalizable, and the original version of the website in case I want to review that. To go back to our metaphor of a bicycle with an adjustable seat, you can see the corollary there with the digital materials where I can adjust the text size, I can change the colors. Again, I'm providing a personalized experience for myself, but that's something that took time for me to learn as a learner. And so we want to make sure that we start exposing learners as early as possible to different supports, such as text size or different background and foreground color combinations or text-to-speech, because it will take time for them to find the settings that are just right for them and that really put them in their best position for learning. So that's really important, is that these are not skills that come naturally. They have to be taught over time, along with a number of strategies. And again, to reiterate, it's really important to focus on a range of different platforms. So not just devices for one vendor, because our situations may change. We may need to use a tablet at one point, or we may be limited to the use of a computer at another point in our lives. So it's important to have a really flexible toolkit with a range of tools that we can pick from. So to use the bicycle metaphor again, if we are going on a nice leisurely ride, maybe we want to choose a different type of bike. But maybe if we're going off-road, we want to choose a bike with fat tires and more grip. So again, it's having a range of tools that you can select from to create the best learning environment for yourself is what's really important. That's why on the AIM Center website, we developed this section called Personalizing the Reading Experience. There's a display options section where there are options for customizing the appearance of the information, again, by adjusting a number of parameters. And then there's a section on text-to-speech, which is now built into a lot of devices. So whether you're using a smartphone, a tablet, a desktop, you can turn on text-to-speech, and then there's some customizations that you can perform for the text-to-speech. You can select different voices, you can adjust the speaking rate. So it's the same idea, except that now instead of adjusting the display of information, you're adjusting how you consume it in a different modality, in this case, audio. The ability to customize the learning environment is only possible when the materials themselves have been designed in a way that supports accessibility. And so we invite you to visit our website at aem.cas.org, because in addition to content focused on the end user and families and students and how they can customize the content to suit their needs, we also have resources on how to create accessible educational materials, or how to procure and how to curate selections of accessible educational materials, so that, again, there's a nice harmony between the materials that learners have available to them and their ability to use them to support their own learning and independence. I want to end this lightning talk with a quick reflection. So I want you to take a second, pause, and think to yourself, in what ways are you providing for yourself an adjustable seat for learning? In what ways are you providing that adjustable seat for learning for others that you work with? If you found this lightning talk helpful, and please feel free to reach out to us at any time at the AIM Center, aem@cas.org. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy your day and stay safe and healthy.